Did you know that in the Netherlands, 4 hours after giving birth, mothers are discharged from the hospital? Yeah, kind of crazy, I think, at least. I know. Did you know that 30% of Dutch women give birth at home? Maybe less crazy? Yeah, I'm not sure. Are you curious about giving birth in the Netherlands, just prenatal care in the country, or are you expecting or planning to get pregnant in the Netherlands? I gave birth in this country 1.5 years ago, and in this video I'm going to share with you some general information, of course, as well as my own experience of pregnancy care and also giving birth in this country. To be honest with you, this would have been a type of video that could have been really helpful to me when I was pregnant, so I'm hoping that it can help somebody, and otherwise, yeah, hopefully it's entertaining. My name is Nez, and this is Out of Her Comfort Zone. In this channel, I share with you the real side of expat life, traveling, and more. So before we start to get into it, I think there needs to be a disclaimer of sorts that generally speaking, pregnancy and subsequently childbirth is considered a natural process in the Netherlands and not a medical condition. And you see also throughout the whole video how this attitude affects the maternity care system and also the birthing process. For me, it was a very refreshing way of dealing with pregnancy, all in all. First things first, insurance. Legally speaking, if you are living in the Netherlands, you need to have insurance. Basic insurance covers most of the costs of pregnancy and childbirth, but it does not cover actually hospital birth without a medical indication. As I mentioned at the start, home births are not unusual in the Netherlands, and basic insurance only covers home births unless you have a medical reason that you need to give birth in a hospital. If you do want to give birth in a hospital regardless, which 70% of the women do, including me, you can get an add-on on your insurance and that will cover it. You don't need to wait for a certain month or something. Whenever you get the add-on, it will be covered. I'm not going to get into the details of health insurance though in this video. If you're interested, let me know in the comments below. And I will cover it in another video. Generally speaking though, you do not have to worry about costs of pregnancy care and giving birth. Your insurance will cover it. I think in most countries, you have a gynecologist that you do your normal checkups with, your pap smears, your tests, and when you also get pregnant, they are your primary point of care or primary caretaker. English is not my first language, sorry. And in the Netherlands, that is not the case. When you get pregnant, you gotta go visit a midwife. You have your first appointment with a midwife usually, unless you have special circumstances around your pregnancy, such as getting pregnant with an IVF. And then the midwife decides if you can stay with them, or generally in a midwife practice level of care, because you have a low risk pregnancy at the moment, or your pregnancy is high risk and you need to visit a gynecologist, and that happens in a hospital. How do you find a midwife? Well, the easy answer is Google it. Frankly, you can Google it and midwives around me, or on Google Maps, find midwives. It's very available online. You can find them around in your area, and they gotta be in your area. Same reason as your GP needs to be in your area, because they need to be able to visit you if you cannot go there. And that actually happened to me. They need to come to your house if you're giving birth at home, and they need to come with you to the hospital if you want to give birth at a hospital. So they need to be near you. They also have a list of zip codes and things like this on their website, or if they don't have a website or a proper website, you can call them up and ask if they offer services to you or not based on your location. There's also a list of midwives everywhere called Royal Dutch Midwife Organization. Yeah, I'll put the link down below. You can also search the midwife there. If you would like to be visiting a midwife who's more used to international clientele, and more importantly, more used to people who are not used to the Dutch system, I suggest that you look for signs that those people are like this. The easiest way is if you know somebody and they can refer you to somebody that had this experience with them. Otherwise, look for signs such as having an English website. My practice actually offered a course in English for internationals, a day course of giving birth in the Netherlands in English. Those signs were showing me that they would be used to my weird system that is not happening here. They also were located, to be fair, in a very international city, so that by nature helps there. In general, coming from a country who is very used to a medical care during pregnancy and childbirth, this was first very scary for me, but it ended up being a very, very beautiful experience. My midwives were professional, they were well trained, they were calm, they listened to me and addressed my concerns, even though some of them, for example, giving antibiotics before birth was a bit weird for them. And when they had to also transfer my care to the hospital because of medical reasons, they also did that very professionally. They basically converted me to this whole prenatal care system, to be honest. I'm gonna leave a link down below and you can also check them out if you're in the area. They're very well trained, well, honest, of course, they're very well trained, but also very, very good caretakers. In total, I had 9 appointments with my midwife practice, then 2 ultrasounds, 1 general blood test, 1 nip test, and 1 glucose test, which the other 2 are also kind of blood tests, but different. The first appointment is around 8 weeks or so to confirm a viable pregnancy with an ultrasound, so you listen to the heart of the baby, and then after that, throughout your pregnancy, you will have appointments with your midwife. It gets closer and closer to each other as you get closer and closer to birth. Generally speaking, in all appointments, they will get your blood pressure, listen to the heart of the baby, do like a physical check with your belly only, and then you will discuss various things with your midwife, such as your birth plan, prenatal screening options, and those types of stuff. Most practices that I've seen, they give you a book that has all the appointments in them, not with dates, but with weeks of your pregnancy, and then you put the dates in. They also have an online portal that you can go and check it out. Your file is gonna be there, all the information, what was your blood pressure, all that stuff is gonna be there. At the first appointment, they also ask about any familial diseases you might have, any genetic things, any things that run in your family and in the father's family as well. With the ultrasounds and the prenatal scan options, you have 2. One is around 12-13 weeks, one is around 20 weeks for physical abnormality. The one at the 20 weeks is also the one that you can find out the gender of the baby. For the ultrasounds, you might need to go to another office because you need a professional ultrasound techs that midwives are not, and they will refer you to somebody proper. You can also get a nip test, which tests your blood for Down syndrome and other syndromes, Patel syndromes and something else that I don't remember. You can also have the option to check for other abnormalities in chromosomes. In general, prenatal screening is optional in the Netherlands. It's not mandatory, and you can opt fully in. You can do some of it, you can do none of it. It's up to you. Generally speaking, most women give birth vaginally in the Netherlands. C-section is not considered an optional choice, but it is rather a medical necessity. I've heard of people who were more used to choosing C-section if they wanted to, and they pushed and they pushed and they got away and they got a C-section. But I'm always hesitant to suggest it, because the system is not quite used to it. So it's really hard to get it, and you're going to spend a lot of your pregnancy just pushing for this option and feeling you're fighting your primary caretaker, your care provider. And also, I feel like when the system is not used to it, it means that the gynecologists are not used to optional C-sections, and they might not be as equipped as I would like to be, at least for myself, to do that operation on me, unless it's medically necessary, of course, and they have experience in that. In that realm again, with the natural process of birth and pregnancy, pain management, especially medical pain management, is not super common in the Netherlands. The system is set up in a way to encourage a non-medical birth as much as possible. Of course, medical and non-medical pain management options are available. There's, of course, epidural. There's laughing gas, which some hospitals have, some hospitals don't. And there's the other one that I think is a type of morphine that you can just pump. I'm sorry if I'm saying it wrong. I'm not a medical professional. In non-medical things, there's a tent system that helps with like movement at your back, and it helps with you. And also taking baths and showers are pretty recommended. I ended up having a non-medical birth. I only used shower as a method of pain management besides the other, movement and stuff. And the hospital I was staying at, it was, at least they were pretty encouraging. I think I took 3 showers during like the whole labor process, and they really helped me along with that. But I was open to epidural, and I did let know my midwife that I'm open to the option, that I might want it. Do keep in mind that if you want the option of epidural, you need to give birth in a hospital, and you need to go rather early. You can't go when you're, 9 centimeter dilated or something crazy, because they need to administrate it early on, and also because it needs to be administered by an anesthesiologist. The Netherlands has one of the highest rates of home births in the developed world. As I said, 30% of women actually give births at homes, 60% give birth in hospitals, and 10% at birthing clinics. Generally speaking, your midwife has one hospital or a few hospitals, depending on the city that you live in and how big it is, that they work with. And you can go visit them, see if you like them or not, check out the facilities, all that stuff. You come to the decision of giving birth in a hospital or at home, most of the times while discussing it with your midwife. And then you can also put it in your birth plan. From what I've seen, I think it's pretty common for your midwife to discuss a birth plan around 30 weeks. The birth plan is where you can say whether you want a hospital birth or a home birth, what options of pain management you want. I don't know if you want to have a birthing pool or not, which your hospital might not have or might have. It depends. All those information, where you want to go to the hospital. Do you want to go late? Do you want to go early? All those things are going to be included in your birth plan. You can make it as detailed as you want or as high over as you want. Of course, birth is an unexpected event, so they will try to follow it as much as they can, which was the case with me. They put the birth plan in your file, and even if you end up not giving birth with your midwife for whatever reason, which did happen to me, they will still have your file and they will try to follow it as much as possible. For me, I think what I included in my birth plan was a bunch of medical stuff, such as the fact that I'm not scared of medical intervention if necessary. I'm not against C-section if necessary, but also more of a personal preferences, like that I would like the room to be quiet right after I give birth, because I want my husband to pray the azan, the Muslim call to prayer, in my daughter's ear before she hears anything else, or that I prefer people to speak English as much as possible in the room, because it freaks me out if I don't know something is going on and I would assume that things are wrong. And what else did I have? I wanted skin to skin for the first hour, and that is also apparently pretty common in the Netherlands. Same with not cutting the umbilical cord before it stops pulsing. So these were the things that I included in my birth plan. Most of them are followed. I did want a birthing pool that I didn't get due to the medical nature of my birth at the end of the day. And I came up with my birth plan pretty late, which was unexpected maybe, but because I was taking a pregnancy course before that, which I mentioned, which I think was very helpful in coming up with the birth plan that I wanted. I think a pregnancy course is always beneficial, but in the context of being pregnant and giving birth in another country, I think it's super beneficial. We took a one-day course with extra material, all in English, and we didn't only learn about what to expect before birth and during birth, but we also learned to expect what to expect from the Dutch healthcare system. That's a lot of expect. For example, I didn't know that they won't give you a hospital gown. You have to take your own clothes for giving birth, not just for the after. And you know, like these little stupid things that you don't know just because you weren't born here and you haven't seen your family go through it or something. It's really empowered us to go through the process knowing what is gonna come next, especially as my care, again and again I'm saying it, was moved to the hospital, meaning that I was under the gynecologist and the hospital midwife rather than my own midwife. It really helped me know what I need to expect, why am I being moved to a gynecologist, what to talk to her. It really made us really calm throughout the process, and it was super beneficial, as I said. To be honest, I really don't want to go through the details of my birth experience here, so that's why I'm not making a birth experience video or something, or birth story video. As I said, my birth became a medical birth in the sense that I was moved to the hospital to be under the care of the gynecologist and the hospital midwife, which is a different level of midwife, I guess. And as I said, that was when having the pregnancy course and all the information came in super handy. To be fair, also, we were super lucky that we had a staff in the hospital that they were super calm and super relaxed. They were very supportive as well. And all in all, I think, considering that it's birth, it was a relatively smooth experience, alhamdulillah. After birth, we stayed at the hospital for 12 hours because of the medical complication that we had, so that there was no risk of infection, and also that a pediatrician could check the baby. And that doesn't happen, by the way, if you are having a normal birth. You're just shipped out of the hospital 4 hours after, which I will cover in my next video about the postpartum experience that I had. The room that we stayed at, the room that I gave birth in, of course, was private. The room before that was private, so the room that I went through my contractions was also private. And then also the room that we stayed for the 12 hours after was also private. I think that was the norm in the hospital that I stayed at. And, you know, if you know my midwife, you can also see what the hospital is. And yeah, overall, I think it was a nice experience in the sense that, well, as much as birth can be nice, I guess, for people who are not super into it. But yeah, like the healthcare system really, I think, got this part of care right. Being pregnant and giving birth is already difficult, let alone it being in another country that you might not be familiar with as much, or you might not be super familiar with the language, or you don't have family support. If you are pregnant right now in the Netherlands, I hope this has been helpful. You can do this. A lot of women have done it, and the healthcare system is good, and you can go through it. And at the end, you'll get a baby, so that's nice. But I'm curious to know what part was the most surprising to you and where you come from. Let me know in the comments.